Tom, do you want to tell us a little, just in a few words, what your presentation is all about? Thank you.
Mine was very simple. It's an app, and it's also a web page where students can rate the presentations of other people as they're giving them. So it keeps them watching what the person is speaking about and thinking about the presentation. And when they're done on their own app, they can see the ratings of all the other students for the presentation that they did.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just because I was pretty lazy. I didn't want to have a spreadsheet and have to transfer all that data from all the students' evaluations on paper to something. So
Sure.
it's all done automatically.
So what, Tom, can you tell us the title of your presentation and
Well,
what the app is?
the app is called Peer Eval, Pereval, as 8 letters. And you can even put that into Google to find it.
So
PeerEval.mobi is the URL.
.mobi, is that right?
Right. Mm.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
that's
sounds very
basically it.
Wow.
Gee, I didn't have to do speak for 10 minutes. I did it in 1.
To answer the question.
Who has a question? Huh?
Tom answered a question. The question
there's
was,
a question?
the question was, what was your presentation about? And Tom answered the question.
He did. Yes, he did.
That's what this is about, right?
Oh.
That is correct. Good. You got that right. All right. How about Randall? You want to tell us about yours?
Sure. My presentation was how to enhance your online classes using a variety of microphones, USB microphones, webcams, green screens, pop screens, and so forth. And again, a lot of times people are right now trying to improve the visual appearance of their presentations. So that was what the focus was for mine. Just using a simple USB microphone, I gave a list of different, gear that you could use to do that.
And the title again?
It's talking about enhancing your broadcasting. I'd have to go back and look at the actual title that I had. It was on broadcasting and improving the overall quality of your recordings.
Wow, very cool.
You modeled that very well.
One of the biggest things, one of the real simple tips is sometimes as human beings, we tend to look at our screen, but we don't look students in the eyes. And so one of the things that I try to encourage teachers is look at your webcam, not at your screen, so you can develop greater human connection with your audience.
Is my hair okay, by the way?
What a great idea. Because I know I have a tendency to look, not necessarily at my students all the time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Well, with me here in the Middle East, our connection is so bad that most of the time, as you can see, I keep on putting a still picture, and then I put myself on again because our connection is so bad. So most of the time, I don't even have the students turn on their cameras. I only have them turn on their cameras every now and then to make sure they're there. I'll say, turn them on right now. And if they don't, then I know they're not there. But basically, our connection is so bad. Anyway, but that's a good idea. Thanks, Randall. Yeah,
it's really good. Thank you. How about
Tom? Do you have a question? Your hand is still up. Do you have a question, Tom?
It went down. No, I don't have another question.
Okay. Okay.
I thought somebody could cancel that. Oh, lower hand. Okay, it's lowered.
Perfect. Okay, how about Tina?
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm Tina from Tokyo, Japan.
Oh.
And
meet Rob, who's also there.
Oh, Tom. Yes. Maybe I'm in Tokyo.
I'm in Osaka. Yeah.
He's in Osaka.
So, but same time zone. So it's about 9:15 p.m. I'm great to see everyone. My Flipgrid was actually not necessarily about how to use an app or something, but my presentation was titled Creating Elf-Oriented Lessons with TED Talks. At my university, we have the first English as lingua franca center in Japan, where we try to look at English teaching more from English as an international language focus. However, most of the materials that we use are still very native speaker oriented. So I've developed a course where I use only TED Talks by non-native speakers of English. And I've developed a lesson for each TED Talk. So I have a 15-week course where I use a different TED Talk each week. So my students are exposed to actually good language user models that are more like themselves, instead of always hearing native speakers. My Flipgrid is called Creating Elf-Oriented Lessons with TED Talks. I've developed a course where I have developed a 15-week course where I use TED Talks by non-native speakers of English, so that my students are exposed to more realistic use language user models, because there are very few materials available for that.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So
That's very interesting. Yeah,
It is.
Yes.
because you can teach you can test all the skills at the same time.
That's
Yes, it's integrated skills course, and I've slowly developed. I've been doing this, I think, for 7 years now. So I have a huge bank of lessons on different talks. It's a lot of work, so I develop new lessons every year. But the main reason why I'm doing this is because most of the language, most of the materials are, don't really encourage ELF or EIL principles.
Yeah. Good. That's great. That's why, you need to advertise.
अन्ना तेरी बारी आ रही, जल्दी आ जाओ.
Hello.
Okay, that's someone's family joined in.
Okay. Okay. Colin,
प्रेजेंटेशन की खोल दो मेरी वीडियो बनानी
can
है.
you, hello, Qualtalen, can you mute yourself, please? You're, okay. Colin, how about you?
Yes. Hello everyone. So I'm Khuratulan Hussain, working as a lecturer at the Department of Teacher Education, University of Karachi, for the B.Ed Honors program. My presentation was basically on how we, incorporated teams, particularly last year when COVID began. And due to the COVID, our teachers were trained with the, how to use Teams and how they can bring in their students so that online virtual learning could take place. So there were a lot of challenges and issues, but still we were able to, deliver classroom teaching in an effective manner. So I have learned a lot, and I actually would like to credit Call, because I remember my first online scholarship was after I attended a training through Call. And Exploring Web 2.0 Tools was the first online course I did from Lewis and Clark College, followed by Critical Thinking from University of Oregon, as well as Advanced Certification in English Language Teaching. And in 2019, when I visited to present at TESOL in Atlanta, I was also a part of IVLP transitioning to online teaching. And just returning to my country, and in 2020, we have COVID, and all of a sudden we are actually like screwed in a way that we just have to be online for teaching and for learning. And that is how everything I learned through all of these sessions and all of these trainings came really handy for me as a teacher, particularly as an English language teacher. And I started utilizing and, putting into practice whatever I have learned. So it has been really rewarding for me. And I am really honored to the TESOL convention, and really thankful to them that they restored me with a professional development scholarship to attend the convention virtually this year. So I'm really happy about this. And I really look forward to hearing your everybody's ideas. And I've tried to watch as many videos, the sessions recorded on Flipgrid, and they're really useful and really wonderful. And I just hope to learn more. And thank you. That's all from my side. If anybody would like to ask something from me.
Well, does anybody have a question? We haven't been doing questions. Let me ask you all, would you prefer to be in breakout rooms?
No, because in breakout rooms where we don't have participants, we're the actual presenters discussing. So I think the
Right.
fact that we're listening to each other and we're asking each other questions is, until someone comes in with an actual question.
Right, but I think we can add people. I'm just to the rooms. But anyway, okay, let's go on. Amy, you want to talk to us? Amy Cook?
Sure. I was just wondering, am I the only Amy on this call? I wasn't sure.
There
Thanks.
is another Amy, but
Yes, see,
not
that's
here.
why I hesitated. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so my presentation is about, it's called Accessibility and Document Design Basics for Microsoft Word. And so it's just a very, very brief, very simple introduction to a couple of key features that you can use in Microsoft Word to make your documents more accessible. And what I'm thinking about there is particularly so that those folks who are using a screen reader to access your materials can get the full experience, right? So I think a lot of us have been, integrating more visuals, logos, graphs, pictures, whatever. And if we're not captioning those for our friends and students and colleagues who need screen readers, they're missing out on all of that visual information. And there's also a great feature called headings where you can basically, it's a style that's built into Word and it creates almost like a built-in outline. So whether you're using a screen reader or just using Microsoft Word, you can jump from one section to the other using these headings, which is really, really helpful, especially in a long document. So I've given a couple of examples and my video has like a walkthrough so you can kind of see where to click and how to do all those features.
Wow. Thank you. It sounds so
I
interesting.
had a
Yeah.
question. Could I jump in?
Of course.
So Amy, I really like your topic. This is so important. And one thing I've wondered about is if you convert that file, the doc file, to a PDF, does the reader still work? Because I found PDFs are not working well for accessibility in Blackboard and things.
Yeah, so I don't know as much about PDFs for accessibility, but everything that I've heard suggests that if you build it in Word with the accessibility features and then save it as a PDF, most of those features should transfer over. So like your captions for the images should transfer over. And anytime I look at like instructions for how to make PDFs more accessible, the first step is usually, can you get your hands on the word processing version, right? So I think yes, but you'd also maybe want to do some additional checks after you convert, or share both versions with your students. Maybe share the Word doc and the PDF.
Maybe Vance or Tom can answer that question as well. I don't know, because they.
I know that links in a Word document don't transfer when you save as a PDF, but that's the extent that I can say anything about it.
Thank you. Mhm.
I think they do. Well, anyway, if you put your Word document on Google Docs, and it has links, and you save it as a PDF, you get links, hot links.
Well, it didn't work for me yesterday. Oh, I wasn't using a Google Doc though.
There you go.
Word save as PDF.
Right.
Yeah, and in that case, you might have to have a certain version of Adobe, or, because I used to do that also. I know what you're talking about. There is a way you can do it if you have the right software, and I think it's in Adobe. Maybe you have to buy the right Adobe or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good tip. Put your doc up to Google Docs with its links and then save it as PDF from there. And it should be hyperlinked.
Great.
Okay, that's something to try.
Heather, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just asked it. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. You're all set. Good. Where's Colin? Colin, I had asked you to talk a little while ago. There you go.
Hi. Sure. I did something. Myself and Laura Ram, who's also on here, we tag team on different things. So we kind of did it together, and it's about an app, a very real world app called Busu. That's it's just a great breakout thing that our students can use on their own. You can incorporate it into lesson plans. BUSUU. And the free version gives you lots of bells and whistles and can take someone from a beginning level up to high intermediate, or, you know, they can jump in. It gives you a little test at the beginning to figure out where you are with grammar, speaking, listening, pronunciation, lots of great pronunciation drills. So yeah, it's a great app, and I hope you all check out our video. Laura, you want to add anything?
I think you covered it. The students really love it because the great feature of Busu is that it opens up to the wider community. So when you create a free account, you're putting in what your first language is. And then as students want to learn that language, you are then part of a community where you can help other students learn your language as well. So answer questions or check their pronunciation.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
that's
interesting.
very interesting. Sure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun app. I hope everyone checks it out.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay, Laura?
Excuse
Sure.
me.
And then, oh,
Wait, someone had a question.
Excuse me. Sorry, I raised my hand, but just want to ask.
Sorry.
From Croatia. I'm making lunch and I'm in the kitchen, so don't mind me not sharing the camera. But I want to ask about Busu. Is it free? Anybody can use it, or you have to? Is it paid?
It's free. Yeah, there's a free version that gives you a lot, more than most others do. Hi. What are you making? What's for lunch? We're all hungry.
Yeah, well, some Croatian specialties, but there will be some other things on the menu as well, such as a meat and we should ask Vance whether he's good, whether my cooking was okay. I'm not a great cook, but I have to feed the family.
That's good. That's good.
Well,
Mariana,
it's lunchtime in
you
my
have to
part
show
of the
us.
world.
You have to show us what you're cooking. As I've been in that kitchen.
Show you. Well, it's actually a stew. It's actually a stew, and you probably can't see it properly. Oh no! It's some kind of a stew, a bean stew. So and bacon. So it's still very cold in Croatia at this mountain area part where we live. So thank you for your time. I will mute and listen carefully.
Excellent. That's good. That's the beauty of Zoom right there. Pretty soon we'll be able to pass food back and forth. It'll be. But yeah, to answer your question, it is free.
From Croatia, sure.
It is free, Busu. Then you can upgrade to a paid version, and then you can they give you everything at first to kind of hook you and make you want to do the upgrade. But still, the free version is excellent. It gives you tons of grammar activities, speaking, listening. But with the paid version, then you get the New York Times every day, The Economist, all sorts of lessons that have been geared towards those articles. You can connect with native speakers or non-native speakers on the app and interact with them. And do conversations. But the free version is wonderful. Yeah.
And when you sign up for the free version, they have your email and they'll send you coupons. So if you did want the paid version, wait for your 50% off.
And Laura features that in our video as well. So, very pragmatic.
It's my favorite part. Yeah. And then our other presentation is on Playposit, and we give an overview of using Playposit and then suggestions for using it with your students, especially to let them create the videos and have other students watch their videos and take the quizzes that are embedded that they create.
I have a question about that, Laura. Is it, because I'm new to Playposit, I have looked at it, but I haven't used it. You and Colin, do you find it a lot of time? It's a lot of time to create yourself if you were going to put a video up there and with quizzes and that sort of thing?
I tend to use things that already have like a set list. So I use the 12 stages of the hero's journey when that's our reading assignment at a more advanced level, and we're working through what is a hero and what is an anti-hero, but we're looking at the stages. So I'll just put the stages in Playposit. And so that's already sections that I know will appear, and it makes it a little bit more efficient that way when creating all of those quizzes.
Right.
Yeah, borrowing something that's already out there on YouTube, streamlines it quickly. But after you do, even if you do one of your own, after you do one or two, we all find the way to get it done pretty quickly. But then using the bulbs, they're called bulbs that are already out there, it's great. And then you can change it up and add your own stuff. So
Mhm.
various uses. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Heather, what about you?
Yes, so my presentation is called Community and Asynchronous Oral Communication Class. So I teach oral communication, but I had a need to teach this asynchronously. And of course, the tool I used, GoReact, there are a lot of features that are great for oral communication and corrective feedback and all of those things. But one thing that I found particularly useful was the ability to still have a sense of community in the class. So I use GoReact a little bit the way people use discussion boards in Blackboard. This is integrated with Blackboard at our university, but it can be used separately as well. And so what I have students do is that they each post a video response, but then they have to respond to each student's video with an audio or video response as well. So you have a discussion board going, but it's all still verbal and sometimes visual. I allow them to do either audio or video for the replies, but their first post is supposed to be a video. And what I noticed about it is that students are really, they're making friends in the class, and I can recognize them. And I know that when we're back on campus in person, I'm going to be able to spot my students and know, like, you were in my class last semester, which was one of the things I was worried about with moving online, is what are we going to lose? Are we going to lose that kind of connection in an oral communication class? So I have some faith that this is a tool that can restore that in some ways in this pandemic.
Thank you. Thank you. That sounds extremely interesting. If anybody has any questions, just like Mariana did, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, correctly, Vance. Mariana?
Mariana.
Mariana. Okay, thank you. All righty,
Yes.
go ahead.
Have I unmute myself? Yes, do you need me? Sorry, my phone was on.
Oh, okay. No, I was asking about pronouncing your name.
Yeah, Mariana, you did it perfectly. Well, for somebody who is not a native Croatian, it's very difficult to pronounce yeah or Jace. Thank you.
The hard part is the second part.
Yeah.
Is it small?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All righty, how about?
It becomes a ya.
Yota. Marike.
Yeah. So who's next?
Yota? Am I saying his name right? Or Carl? Is it Jose?
Yeah.
Manrique. Are you there?
Yes. I'm just fixing the microphone.
Oh,
Hear me?
yes.
Okay, good, because I was using two microphones and one got lost. Okay, so basically what I do in my presentation is I show Streamlabs because I teach kids. I'm teaching kids online, like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old.
Wow.
Challenge. So something that I love when I teach in a classroom is that they pay attention. I use the board, visual aids. And I learned that when I share the screen, I actually lose that. So in online teaching. So I use Streamlabs to do things like this. To have two cameras, for example. Okay, or to have the visual aids on the screen. Instead of actually showing something, I can actually interact with whatever I have. And I have monkeys and I have polar bear, things like that. So it's super cool because you can actually put pictures, animations, you can put text, and it's super fast and quick. I don't need to share a screen. And when you have like low bandwidth, this helps a lot. Because you don't have to share a screen, use other resources. It's just a virtual camera. And as I mentioned, I like because I can have like two cameras and show students how to do something like crafts, and they can actually see at me at the same time if you have two cameras. But otherwise, you can work with only one, and you can actually share whatever you want. Even at Zoom, sometimes when I'm presenting or attending a conference and like I want to share a screen and the host hasn't allowed me to share the screen, I can actually bypass that with Streamlabs and share my screen without actually getting that permission, but to make it faster. But it's basically that. I want to grab students' attention, and I do that with visual aids and not using sharing the screen.
Cool.
Oh, I think that's great, especially for young learners. I think that's great for young learners too. Yeah.
Okay, how about Candice?
Yes, sorry, it took me a second to unmute. Um, okay, so my presentation was about using a cloud storage app called Box. And some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not, but Box has a couple features in it that I find are very helpful. And I think Google Docs and some of those also have similar features, but for people who may not have access to Google, Box might be a good alternative. And there's a free version and there's a paid version. And so in my presentation, I go over the perks of both and show you, like, I do them side by side so that you can see the differences between them. But I go over the features that I really like to use when I'm teaching, because I use it a lot for portfolios, for sharing files. My college has a subscription, so we have unlimited access to like storage and things like that, but I show you a lot of the good things that you can do with it.
And Candice, do you have to, is it something anybody can access?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, there's a free version, if
There's a
just
free
box.com. It's very simple to get to.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Miguel Rontado.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that some of my friends here in Venezuela are joining us in the Q&A. My presentation is about virtual reality and how to complement the English language instruction using this technology. At first, I was amazed about the use of goggles, and I started implementing that. Fortunately, the school administration brought some goggles and we were using them in the classroom. But after researching how to use that and how to apply virtual reality, I found out that there were kinds of virtual reality, and those kinds of virtual reality allows us to assign homework to students, and they can use their own devices at home and bring something to share to the classroom.
Wow.
So I found out that we can probably not introduce certain topics to students, but we can complement whatever we teach using this technology. For example, asking them to visit a place that they may have not known. I live in a mountainous area in Mérida, Venezuela. So some of our students haven't gone to the beach ever, and they have seen the beach in movies. So we can ask them to download an app, a 360-degree app, or watch a 360-degree video at home on YouTube, so they can experience what's being, in the beach. And that would allow teachers to use the simple past just to have a recount of what they experienced just by watching a single virtual reality video. So that's basically the research I came up with. Initially was like, okay, this is amazing, I have to do something with it. In the end, I found out that it was extremely useful. Things like Nintendo Wii, which is a pretty old nowadays technology. It's also virtual reality, and we can ask our students to do something in, play in Mario Brothers, any Mario Brothers game. And we can assign them like, okay, you have to get to level 1 and you have to get to this point, and then ask them just to speak about their experience. It's also a nice way to encourage our students to speak, because sometimes they don't find like a real topic. If we go too technical into the English language speaking thing, like assigning them reading just to have them speaking, yeah, that's probably not encouraging. And now that we're not with them in the classroom, it's also difficult. We don't know if they actually read something. But assigning them to play a video game at home allows us to have them doing something.
Right.
And in the end, we can hack that game, that gamification, because we can ask them to write something about it.
Okay.
So we're not
Miguel,
going away from that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you if you to wrap it up, just because we have a couple questions for you.
Yeah. Sure.
I think Najish and well, somebody else had a question, I think. Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm very interested in Miguel's presentation because I work as a research manager for VR English platform. And my question is about the access to VR headsets. What's the situation in Venezuela, for example? How many students have or own a personal headset, or are there schools that have headsets where students can use them?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not a very accessible technology for us here. I work at a binational center, and we had the chance to use this technology. We have brought this to communities in an outreach program. So we share that with poor communities. There are accessible technologies we can share. The Google Cardboard goggles can be accessible for a very cheap price, and some of them are in the market, and people just have to use a smartphone for that. So I think that's the best option for goggles. But adapting simple video games or PC games is also possible, and that's more accessible.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel.
Any other questions for Miguel? Okay.
Thank you.
Vance. Hi.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. I did something a little bit unusual. I'm going to put a link in the text chat. I usually make wiki pages for my presentations. And my presentation was on EVO Minecraft MOOC. Minecraft MOOC involves, well, it's basically a place where teachers can become familiar with Minecraft with the object of using it with students. But it's very hard to, we have a lot of trouble every time. We're doing this 7th year now, and it's very hard to get people into it far enough to where they really get eager to join us. So what I did this time was I made a lot of videos. The month before our session, I made several tutorial videos. And during the session, I made a couple dozen videos of interactions inside of Minecraft. Now, and I've got ideas of what Minecraft is good for. And I took the videos that I had made and I took segments out that that applied to some of the things that I think Minecraft is useful for with students. For example, it's a very creative game. It's gamified, but it's also a game where teachers can manipulate the environment, therefore it's game-based. And it's very community-based, and that encourages communication, making student narratives, multimedia presentations, especially conversations with peers and other teachers, and it encourages research and listening to videos and things like that. So I took 13 video segments, and if you go to the link I just put in, you can see the segments that I used and the reason why I used them, which apply to those little list of affordances for Minecraft for using them with students. So my presentation is basically, it gives you links to where you can read more about what we do. And then it spends most of the 10 minutes showing 13 video segments, kind of one after another, but then relating why I used them in the wiki that I used to accompany that. So it's makes an attractive presentation, and it lets people experience what Minecraft is like.
Thank you. So we still need to talk to Ella, Christine, and Gina. Gina, you ready? Sure.
Why not? I'll talk. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I did my Flipgrid on about the presentation that I did last year called Engaging the Disengaged. And because so many people really like that presentation, I actually was asked to represent it in 3 different countries. And people kept asking me, do you have anything else? And have you created any other things? And of course, I've done a lot of workshops in my work. So I just kind of took that to heart, and I decided to start a nonprofit, and I put it in the chat that is all about teaching tips for English language teachers. And that's what TTLT stands for. So I just kind of focused my video this time on talking about some of the things that I had talked about in Engaging the Disengaged last year, and talking about how that influenced what I'm doing now with TTLT. So yeah, that's kind of what the video is about, is the different things that we can do online to keep our students engaged, especially that's what I focused on because this is EB, and we're all teaching online these days. We're all online right now. So so that's pretty much what it was about. So feel free to click on the website and see what we're doing. There's, we're up to 25 episodes now, and putting out another one every week. I'm interviewing lots of people. If you are interested in being interviewed, we would love to hear your teaching tips.
Actually, yeah, I have a question. I am presently teaching young women from Showa University, actually, who are in Showa, and it's remote. So I do need to get them engaged more. So do you have one tip you can share with us?
One tip I can share. Oh my gosh. Well, the whole video is all about ways to engage. So we talk about, let's see, one of my favorites, I should say. I don't have a favorite, but one of my favorites that I use a lot is lyrics training. I use that myself and always also with my students. Quizlets are also a tried and true favorite. I also talk in the video about using quizzes as an alternative to Kahoots, because Kahoots, even though they're lovely, are kind of overdone. And so those are just some of the things that I talked about in it. This week, the episode that I should have already uploaded, but I was preparing for all of this and packing. I'm flying to the US tomorrow. So but I am talking about intercultural communication. I did an interview. So some weeks I will present something that I've done, and other weeks I'll interview someone else. So a friend of mine who's done a lot of research and a lot of work in intercultural communications is the presenter for the upcoming episode. It'll be uploaded in about a couple hours. And last week, an English language fellow that I worked with did one on creating photography clubs, and we have another one on vocabulary, how to teach vocabulary, and a couple on student engagement and student motivation. So every week I bring in either myself or someone else, or also another colleague of mine who's also doing some of the episodes, so that I have more time to pack. And so every week we have another episode coming, and it's all often electronic, like things that are happening online, because right now most people are teaching online, but any topic is possible. There's one on informal assessment. So just I talk to other teachers and find out what they think their main tip is, what they want to share with the English teaching world. And that's what we talk about in the episode. And sometimes they have more than one tip and it becomes more than one episode. So we just focus on one topic for each episode. And And that's kind of been the model that we've been following since October. So it's just something that I had time to do during COVID because my plans kind of all went this way. And now we're trying to keep it going. And the board and I are working really hard to create a strategic plan to really expand the nonprofit. But right now we're a YouTube channel and a podcast.
Thank you. Mariana has a question. Is it
Yes,
related to Gina?
Thank you, Jenna. Congratulations. Such a hard work and a lot of information. I'm just browsing quickly through the site. I see you have Facebook, Instagram, and others. Can you just fill me in? Are the tips mainly for like secondary school teachers, university teachers, or you also have for teachers who teach young learners? And that's my question. Thank you.
That's a great question. We haven't narrowed it down to one particular segment of English language teachers, so we try to keep things broad. Actually, the workshop we just did on Monday was specifically for young learners. It's a teacher that likes to use songs and rhymes in her classroom. And so she focused her workshop on young learners, but her episode, which I think is episode 21, is how to use songs with all levels. And so she talked a lot about transferring that in different levels, but then she wanted to focus her workshop on specifically young learners. So it was a really good workshop, and we'll soon have that, that recording of that workshop on our webpage.
Any other? Thank you. More questions for Gina? So Ella, are you there? There she is.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and warm greetings from Ukraine, from Kharkiv. And my presentation was about how to improve students' writing through news flows compilation. And as you know, students, they nowadays they read all the time something, or they post something all the time. And I decided it would be a good idea to use it in my educational purposes. So what we actually do, with my students, we read news. Sometimes I provide them with a link, or sometimes they choose pieces of news themselves. It can be anything. It can be like some online magazine or newspaper, or even some information from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So I allow them to use whatever they want, but it should be something written by a native speaker. So what they do, they take a particular piece of news, and then I ask them to identify some lexical units. They can be nouns, verbs, phrasal verbs, whatever. And then they go to thesaurus.com. It is a site where there is a huge variety of synonyms and antonyms. And students substitute their active units with the words for which they find in thesaurus.com. But while doing this, they should analyze and understand whether this vocabulary unit is appropriate for the context. And then they upload their writings in the interactive pad, which is called meetingwords.com, where you can provide the link to anyone, and the person who has access can follow this link and see all those writings. So what we do, we read. Students read themselves, and me too, of course. We read what the first piece of news, original one, then the one which they made themselves, and then after this, I can provide my feedback. And my students, they are really happy about this, because they have developed their ability to love writing, and it can be any context, from tech to, I don't know, drama, whatever, and they like it, and they develop their vocabulary greatly. So basically that's it. That's what my presentation was about.
Thank you so much. So we have probably 5 minutes left. Have I missed anyone here? Mariana, did Heather, you had a question? Castile?
Yes, Ella, I just had a quick question about how you choose the words. So I missed part of it. The students are looking at a news story and then they're selecting words and then going to the thesaurus and deciding whether it fits, or do you select the words?
No. Students choose the word themselves. I only give them the task. For example, today we are working on phrasal verbs, and they find phrasal verbs in the text and then find synonyms.
All right, thank you. That sounds amazing. It's a great exercise.
Thank you.
So, Mariana, your hand is up. Oh no, that's
No, it's only thumbs up for Ella's very creative activity of her and her students. Congratulations. It sounds very interesting. I will look into it definitely. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Have I missed any of the presenters? Oh, Christine. Yeah. We have a few
Christine,
minutes.
we've got like 2 minutes, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
there's another session coming in.
Coming. Right.
Well, I can share very quickly. What I did was I addressed plagiarism. And plagiarism has always been something that I've been preoccupied with, because I lived in an area where English is the first language of instruction, but plagiarism is galore, and I think it's galore all over the world anyway. Students tend to be tempted to plagiarize, to cut corners and time, basically. So this project started out in a class that I was teaching, essay writing and research methodology, the steps for writing term paper. And I thought, you know what, I'm teaching a bunch of engineers and they definitely don't want to do rewrites. So let me get them interested by creating their own text space and telling them, choose your own topic. I will approve your topic, but anything that you're going to write onto your space has to be approved by me. So indirectly, I had them do rewrites over and over and over again without them realizing. They just wanted to be able to put up their material on their space. By the same token, in teaching them research methodology and the steps, I was, of course, addressing the idea of plagiarism. And I said to them, anytime you're going to do an in-text documentation or identify some form of reference, you have to also upload your original source, highlight it, and make a link into your actual paper. So anytime they wrote an essay or something that was part of their term paper or any visual, they had to make an in-text link into the work itself that they were working on, plus on the reference page to give the direct link. And that's what I was attempting to do. I was making them aware of what is plagiarism and how not to fall into the trap of plagiarism. And by doing this over and over and over again, all semester long, by the end of the semester, they definitely knew what not to do when it came to plagiarism. So that was my, and I did this step by step in the film. So I invite you to look at it.
Well, I think we have basically covered a lot of bases here today, and that's for sure, from virtual world to real world. I want to
virtual world. There's a session starting here right now about virtual worlds. But they need for you for
leave.
us to move off.
To move off. So thank you all for being with us.